I mean it this time. If you don't send me that, I mean, I'm a busy guy too, right? I'm not popular like you, but I mean, you say you're going to send the coffee, send it. Like, if you don't, I'm going to be bringing down this brand. I mean, like,
I'm
seriously.
sure I sent that out. I had kept it in this closet right over here.
Well,
I forgot to send it out.
Whatever. We'll get it done. Anyways, I'm going to hit record.
I'll send it out. I'll send it out. I'm sorry.
I just have to get it off my chest, okay? You ready? I can hit record now. Okay, sorry, man. Okay, okay, we're recording. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning into Border City Rock Talk. You get great news, great interviews, great interviewees with sometimes a comedic touch. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, or my buddy, DEE SNIDER, is going to kick your ass. Isn't that right, DEE?
That's what I do these days. I've always been kicking asses, and now I just go around and arbitrarily kick asses. People are often surprised, but hey, they needed it.
Right on. Before we continue the interview, just a quick word from my sponsor, Barnacle Williams.
This is a self-destructing pregnancy test. It destroys itself whether the results are positive or negative. 10 seconds after you take the pregnancy test, it does explode. Remember, don't piss on the way. The reason it explodes is that pregnancy is a matter between you and your partner, and it's no one else's business. So it explodes to destroy the evidence. I've got a demo video to show you. Let's take a look. You start with a bang and it ends with a bang. And that's why I designed this self-destructing pregnancy test.
We're talking to you for a couple of reasons. Well, first of all, let's get it out there. People want to know what's going on with DEE SNIDER. What's going on is you've just published a book called FRATS. Give us a little bit of a tidbit of what it's about. And I understand it's not a nonfiction. It's actually a fiction book you wrote.
All right, I'm just stepping off. Not running away. Just hold on a second. Damn. Well, to have this on my desktop. Frats. Frats by DEE SNIDER. Yeah, it's first of all, it's not about rock and roll. It's not about me. It's based on actual events where I grew up, in a world I grew up, and it's kind of The Outsiders meets The Wanderers, if you're familiar with those movies at all. It's about gang violence in the early 70s in suburban Long Island, someplace you would never expect to have these issues and these problems. It existed. And it wasn't until we had a thing called high school fraternities back then. I thought that was the way of the world. Turns out high school fraternities aren't a thing anywhere but where I grew up. And I just grew up in this environment where this was the way of the world and the lay of the land, a minefield where I was not in one of the fraternities. I was one of those guys trying not to get your ass kicked by the fraternities. But you kind of going from elementary school to junior high to high school. This was the world we lived in. This is where the gangs hang out. And you want to avoid that and stay away from that. But I started to wonder, what if you didn't know the lay of the land? What if you didn't understand where the mines were planted in this world? And my imaginary character, Bobby Kovacs, in his senior year of high school, transfers from the Midwest. He grew up on an Air Force base, and he's dropped into this world. And not knowing that it's a minefield, his first day of school, just trying to do the right thing by help somebody out, he crosses the wrong guy, and he becomes public enemy number one for this fraternity, who start pursuing him, forcing him to join a fraternity, a gang, just to protect himself. And this is the real world that I lived in. So fictional characters, all the events, though, actually happened. It's sort of an amalgam of things that went on when I was in high school.
Wow. So I was going to ask you different way I was going to bring it about, but is there anything in the book that you'd like to sneak out now, something that even your wife might not have known, a similar circumstance?
No. Well, no, I mean, so I say that it's not, it's not a book about me, but when creating the character Bobby Kovacs, there's a love story in the, that's a sub story in there. And Bobby meets this girl, Angel, and, go with what you know. And so I use a lot of my courtship of my wife. So like my wife, who is a mob princess, Bob Angel is a mob princess. And like me, when I met first date my wife, her family threatened to kill me. And they're real. And it's a much longer story. Well, they threatened to kill Bobby. So a lot of the things that happen in that romance come from my actual life. People who have read my memoirs, Shut Up and Give Me the Mic, will recognize those things.
Mhm.
The only other connection I have to the book is there's a passing reference at the prom. The band Dusk, D-U-S-K, is playing, and they are the band that performs at all the dances in 1972, 73 at Baldwin High School. And Bobby says, yeah, the singer went on to become pretty famous. Well, I was the singer in Dusk. And that's my only little actual appearance in the book, is Dusk is performing at the prom, as we did back in those days, played all the dances and stuff. And Bobby he went on to be pretty famous, but he never mentions me by name.
So let me get this straight. Bobby's girlfriends or whatever was threatened by that family to kill him. Did you say, I don't know if I heard right, your wife, her family actually threatened to kill you?
Oh yeah. So
Okay.
with good reason, I understand. So when I met her, I was 21, she was 15. By the time I realized I hadn't done anything, but she told me she was 15, I was already like, I got to have this hot, screaming hot Italian girl. And if anybody doesn't know, Italian girls, they develop early. I mean, in Romeo and Juliet, Juliet is 14. She's Italian, 14, and her mother's saying, if you don't get married soon, you're going to be an old maid. So, I mean, these girls were ready to go at 14, 15, and my wife was so hot, and I was a big, freaky, weird dude. So she said, well, if you want to take me out, you got to come meet you got to come meet the family on Sauce Sunday. And I was like, sure, I'll meet the family, no problem. Figured, meet the family, and take her out on a date. I didn't realize she meant the family, as in Cosa Nostra, Mafia. And I walked in and the Sopranos are sitting there, and I roll in with pants so tight you can tell I'm circumcised. So I mean, see, pink platform shoes. I'm 21. I'm taking this 15-year-old out. I understand why they threatened to kill me, and they just warned me, but they let me go out with her. They just said, you lay one hand on my daughter, and this family will hunt you down to the four corners of the earth and put you in the bottom of a lake. You understand what I'm saying to you? And I had baby blue skin tight jeans on. I had this dark blue patch that was spreading over my crotch area at that point. And I said, yes, sir, I understand. I remember going, SNIDER, you really got into it now. I mean, but I'm like, I've got to have this girl. I got to have this girl. This is the one. And by the way, 47 years, we're still together 47 years later. So yeah, I knew what I wanted. And I stuck with it. I think it was about 10 years ago that her father actually accepted me, though. It was like decades of like, this, this bum kind of guy. And I'm like, bum, taking care of your daughter. But about 10 years ago, he said, all right, he's got staying power. I guess he's okay.
You know what? That's awesome. That's why I really enjoyed our interview last time. It's just you're real. And speaking of real, in the social media right now, there's some reference to something in San Francisco, and you'd said something, and I really resonate with this. People are not honest with themselves these days. They don't want to take accountability for their true values. So on social media, they'll just go with the flow. They won't stand up for their values. Isn't that true?
Well, yeah. So I'm not going to rehash like the whole thing that went down that started this whole conversation with, but I was asked to be the Grand Marshal of the San Francisco Gay Pride Parade, and with good reason. I'm a longtime supporter of the community, and just I've inspired many, believe it or not, many people to be themselves with my crazy makeup and being fearless. I mean, walking around with lipstick and a mole, like some 1950s movie starlet, red lipstick and pink nail polish. Trust me, I got in a few fights. But it was about being allowed to be who you are, and I stand for that.
Absolutely.
But when I didn't agree completely with the community, people got upset, and I don't get that. I don't, and people have a tendency to back away, to back off, to apologize. to, to pull, rather than stand tall and say, no, this is my beliefs. Now I'm not talking about if you said something really moronic, like, I believe in rape. Obviously
Right.
that's not something you want to stand for. But if you have a different, an educated opinion on something, you shouldn't have to back down. And Paul Stanley, it all started when I agreed with the Paul Stanley statement that he made about transgender children. And so Paul backed off, apologized. I saw RuPaul back off when he said, I won't have transgender women on the Drag Race.
Mm-hmm.
Makes total sense to me. Drag Race is men dressing up in drag. They asked me to be on. Yeah, I'm a man and dress in drag. Okay, I get it. If you're a transgender woman and we recognize that you're a woman, well, now you're a woman. You can't be in the Drag Race because women dressing as women is not a trick.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a trick. You're a woman. You dress like a woman. No biggie. So, and yet the trans community freaked out at RuPaul, and he apologized, and they freaked out at me for saying that I don't think that children, as a father of 4, grandfather of 5, I'm been that children in elementary school are prepared to make life decisions
Right.
at that point in their life. And I don't care how hard you scream at me, what you threaten me with, or what you could try to threaten me with, but I'm not going to change my position and tell you, oh, you're right, I'm wrong. No. And what I did was I posted on Facebook. You want to go to Facebook, people, you'll see my response to the trans community and about this. And I just pushed back hard because they called me transphobic. I said, really?
Wow.
I'm transphobic? You asked me to be the Grand Marshal. I was the Grand Marshal in your parade. You were singing, we're not going to take it. I'm transphobic. The author, writer of the San Francisco Chronicle said the first thing he said in the article about me being, not, they asked me, tell me I couldn't be the Grand Marshal, was Dee Snider, longtime supporter of the LGBTQIA plus community. First thing he said, yes. Does that mean I pledge fealty? Does that mean I agree with every single thing that you say, every single specific point? No. You know what? And that comes from being, and that's, I am one of the vast, I'm a moderate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And people say, what is a moderate in 2023? It's very simple. If you think there's room for conversation, negotiation, and compromise, you're a moderate.
Right.
If you are on the extreme right, but you're willing to talk and compromise, you're a moderate. You hear them they refer to he's a moderate senator. He's a moderate Republican. He's a moderate Democrat. That means they're willing to discuss and negotiate. That makes you a moderate in 2023. And by the way, most of us are moderates. Most of us are wide. Maybe some are all the way over on the right. Some are on the left. People like me are in the middle. The best example is that I drive a Tesla and an H2 Hummer. Yeah. Yeah. I'm an environmentalist, but I still want my toys. So, so I'm a moderate. So, and if you're a moderate, you shouldn't feel that you have to agree with the bullying minorities, and they are minorities on the extreme left and right. They're the loudest voices in the room. They're the most in your face on everything. They are minorities.
Right.
Minorities. And I'm just trying to encourage the middle to speak up, step up. You don't got to get it. You're going to be as loud and stupid as they are, but don't fold.
Right.
Don't crawl up in the fetal position because they chastise you or ostracize you because you don't agree with them. Screw them.
That's awesome. And you know what word has been left out of the vocabulary for the last, say, 4 or 5 years? Critical thinking.
Yeah, how about that? How about that?
Yeah, people
thinking for yourself, but actually doing the homework and actually
right
contemplating, and not just 2 + 2 = 4. Okay, but acknowledge there's a mathematical equation here. You can't argue it. It's undebatable. And when I made my response to being called transphobic, one of the things I posted in my Facebook, and that's Face Dee Snider, if you want to check it out, letter was from a major pediatric study that was done that said that children in elementary school are not capable of making life decisions. This is a fact. And by the way, they also say junior high, high school, still getting our things together. We're still figuring it all out, and maybe we get we're more ready to make those life decisions, but certainly not in elementary school. And that's been a discussion,
Well, actually, it's a good thing you brought that up because it just tweaked me, my brain. I was watching a Netflix documentary recently where a person that committed a crime when he was like 15, it was like a triple murder or something. He got life in prison in California with no parole. I think it was 10 or 15 years ago, they changed the laws because they had studies that say up until 14 or 15 or 16, the brain hasn't developed the certain part of the brain where you're rational. So
Yeah.
like you can't vote until you're what, 18 here in Ontario. You can't drive a car until you're 16 here in Ontario. But they want you to be able to make a decision to change your body. And this is just my opinion. I have no problem or issue with LGBTQ, whatever. I mean, they're just as people as we are. But when it comes to a child making a serious decision on their body,
a life-changing decision,
100%.
And so, and it's been shown that a lot of this, surgery on children, it's not happening. It's not really going on at maybe it's happening on an occasion or whatever, but it's not happening. But if you're discussing it, if we're going to talk about that you want children to have this, to be able to make these decisions themselves, that's a discussion now. We're talking about it. You think that they're 8 years old, and I've had some trans people say, I was 8, I knew right then and there. Well, God bless you, but as your parent, I'm not letting you pull that trigger, so to speak. That's, metaphorically. I'm going to say, all right, dress up, Johnny, dress up like you want to dress up. I love you, and let's see where this goes. But you're not making any major decisions based on that at this point in your life. You're too young, period. That's from my experience. That's from clinical studies, scientific things. You can't argue with that. And if one or two, look at people say, well, you knew you were going to be a rock star when you were 8 years old. And they were right. I did. I was going to be a Beatle when I was 8 years old. Mm-hmm. A Beatle. I was going to be actually one of the Beatles when I was 8 years old. No, you can't be a Beatle. Oh, okay. So then I learned, okay, I kept modifying, and then I was like, oh, well, I'm going to be in a rock band. Oh, I'm not going to learn an instrument, though. I'm just going to be discovered. No, that's not how. It's never going to happen for you, D. It's never going to happen. Oh, I have to learn an instrument. Okay, and I have to form a band, and then I have to rehearse, and I have to practice, and I have to commit. And I found out that 8-year-old, I want to be a Beatle. The reality of it was very, very different than what I saw. I still stayed with that dream and that vision, but I did not know at 8. I was not prepared to go out into the world and become a Beatle. Just, Mom and Dad, I'm leaving home. I'm a Beatle. And no, it's not, you're not leaving the house. Come back in. I also wanted to be Daredevil.
Yeah.
And made my mother make me a little costume when I was 8, 9. Yeah, I was still, that was 8 or 9. Daredevil. And I wanted to go fight crime. My parents did not let me out of the house. I was 9. And I understand now. I was very upset that they wouldn't let me go out at night, and I was going to fight crime because I was Daredevil Jr., and I was going to get the bad guys. My father's a cop. He said, get back in the house, you idiot. You idiot. And I remember but no, I can't fight crime. I'm 9. Even though I wanted to, in my head, I wanted to be Daredevil Jr. I was ready to fight crime. I was not ready to really fight crime.
Yeah, and you didn't have to alter your body, right?
Well, no, and even that, and that's, again, apparently that's getting way blown out of proportion by the extreme right, whatever. But if you're having a discussion, just say, well, but do you think that they should be able to? No, I do not think they should be able to. I know they shouldn't be able to. I've raised children. I know. That's
great. It's great that you don't cave, because there's so I shouldn't go on this, but I mean, it's very rare to see somebody with a platform that you have just sticking to their values regardless of the pressure. But
I get hailed and reviled by both extremes because I am a moderate, because I support, so I'll do some left supporting, and I will get, and they'll be hating, yes, I believe I'm a pro-vaxxer, and I believe that you should be wearing masks, and the right hates me. And then I say something like this, and Fox News is all over. Dee Snider is stepping up, fighting back. So, and then the left hates me, and no, I'm not here for you all the way over there on the extreme left. I'm not there for you all the way on the extreme right. I'm actually here being a voice where I know the majority in that wide swath that is the center, that is the moderates. Again, you might lean right, you might lean left, but those people who are willing to have a conversation, the people who are willing to negotiate, people who are willing to compromise and cognitive thinking, as you said, are willing to discuss the subject and talk about it rationally,
Right.
and you're not getting that. And the extremes are so loud, man. They're so loud. They really take up all the air in the room. People, you gotta know. Look at I'm okay. You're up in Canada.
Yeah.
Recently, I was looking, and they keep this truckers group, whatever they are, some group up there. Oh, they want to get rid of your prime minister. They've been using. We're not going to take it. I keep seeing videos. It's pathetic. The actual gathering of people in the parking lots look like a barbecue. I mean, I've had more people at my house, and they're wearing, and they're trying to rock it out, and and I get your call. They're not representing Canada on the whole. That's a very poor turnout. That's an extreme position, and you might agree with some of their beliefs. You may not like your prime minister, but you may Trudeau. But at the same time, I don't know if they all agree with the extremist position of the guys in the parking lot having a tailgate party singing, "We're not going to take it."
Okay, Dee, I'm going to interject here. I'm going to let you in on something. The Freedom Convoy here in Canada was quite suppressed in censorship. There's literally tens of thousands, if not 100,000 people that went to Ottawa, and the mainstream media.
The Freedom Convoy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's actually what the press is sending you to from my aspect here in Canada. It's they're how do you say, they're not underreporting it, they're trying to censor it. So what you're seeing isn't as accurate as I see it here, just to let you know.
Well, there you go. And that's a situation. Imagine this. Our information is being censored. And and I'm you're speaking to me rationally and sanely, and I am accepting what you're telling me, because you're informing. We're headed to, and what we get is so censored, both sides. But our stuff is being catered to us. Wait till AI gets a hold of us. Not to go down the AI rabbit hole, but they're just going to be individually designing news information for you, for me specifically, so it hits exactly on the notes we want to hear, and so things are going to get worse, not better, unfortunately.
No, you're huge on that and relaying that message, because excuse me, in Canada we just passed a bill, Ontario, where the government has the right to I'm just going to paraphrase kind of what I understand. They have the right to censor what they don't think Ontarians should be reading if it's disinformation, but they're determining that. So if you're a party that's in Party A and Party B has people in different organizations all across social media that are going against Party A, the fear is they can use that bill to censor people who want to speak opposite. See, when I was growing up, we had things called debate. Now it's either you agree with me or that's disinformation, right?
Right. And that goes back to my original thing about, if you're open to discussion, if you're open to debate, if you're open to compromise, then consider yourself to be in the centrist area, even though it's a very wide range, because that's what's lacking: discourse, conversation, and sharing information, So like things you're telling me right now, not really privy to what's going on in Canadian politics on the whole, just sort of the spillover. And it's probably similar with the United States over to you guys. So, we're living in a very dangerous world right now.
Right. Before we get back on track here, speaking of Fox News, I don't know, they shouldn't be talking. I mean, what have they done? Like, look what happened with Tucker. He was the one. I don't know if you're a fan of Tucker. I'm not a fan. I'm not an enemy, but he actually was the only one who had an opposite view of a lot of the other ones. He lost all of his sponsors. He still had 3 million views per episode, and then they sacked him. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, justifiably so. Fox paid $750 million in fines for broadcasting lies. Lies are inarguable. Misinformation is misinformation. And when you go through the court process and they find you guilty of misinformation, and a lot of it was coming from Tucker. Okay, I'm very against misinformation, deliberate misinformation, and deliberately, customizing and using information to target an audience. And some of the stuff he said is just awful. Everybody goes, and then the right screams, "Oh yeah, Mr. Fight for Censorship." I was in there. I never fought for your right to scream fire in a crowded movie theater when there is no fire. I never fought for your right to say things that hurt people, that literally get people hurt. That's not, and there's proof of that. That is not freedom. That's not free speech.
No,
that's not free speech. I never fought for that. And if you think that's free speech, you're an asshole.
Right.
It's not free speech. You don't have the right to hurt people because you feel like it. That's not free speech.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'd be remiss if I didn't say this because we're talking about ethics, right? My view of Tucker is a bit different, but this is a good thing that we can talk and have different opinions.
Yes.
Let's get back to
more of that, less of the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And where can people get FRATS right now? They obviously can order it online. Can they get it from obviously. I checked DSNIDER.com. Everybody go there.
Yeah, there's a link there, but it's pretty much available anywhere you get. It's funny. The line is where fine books are sold. I wonder where they sell the crappy books. But so it's available anywhere you get books. You can get it online or whatever. Yeah, you can go to DSNIDERbook.com and order it directly through there. But I mean, and so this is, I was just talking with my son. My son does a podcast called Coolest Geek Alive. And it's a fanboy cast. It's all about the whole world of geek culture and all that stuff like that. And I'm a big fan of his. He's raised by me, of course. I listen to the show, but he's really astute. And he said that, geek culture, the fanboy comic books, movies, all that world, that is supposed to be our escape. It's not where we go for politics. It's not where we go to debate or argue. It's where we go into that world to just live vicariously through these figures, whether we're watching them on a movie or TV or in a comic book or whatever. And that's how I feel about about books I write and the movies I write. I'm not looking to I may have political opinions or whatever, but within the books, books are escape. This book is very much, like I said, like The Outsiders, very similar, not very long. It's only about 200 pages.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's a quick read. People think it's a page burner, but it's, it pulls you in, and we need our escapes because we're getting bombarded all day long, from media and from social media, and it's just everywhere we look, and a lot of misinformation on both sides. We know that for sure. Mm-hmm. Every paper has an agenda. Every news program has an agenda. So whether it's Fox or it's CNN or it's MSNBC or it's whoever you want to pick, or what they have in Canada, they've got an agenda. They are adjusting the information you're receiving to go with what their owners want it to be. FRATS is escapism. It's based on actual events. It's interesting on that level that this violent suburban world existed, and they keep saying, "Oh, it's about toxic masculinity." I didn't know it was about toxic masculinity. My editors keep screaming those words. I guess technically it's I guess technically it is about it, but we didn't use those words back then. It's crummy guys beating up other crummy guys, and how it affected the world around us. I was in the book. I wasn't in one of those fraternities. I was in a gang. I was this big weird guy trying to not get my ass kicked. negotiating that minefield. And if I'm represented at all, there's in the book, there's guys that Bobby calls the Bretts. And there's these three friends that he makes friends early on with these nerdy guys who sit at the lunch table, and they're just these nerdy geek guys, but he calls them the Bretts. But I was one of the Bretts, watching and observing this crazy fraternity gang world that was going on in high school. And it was a big topic conversation. You know what they did? You hear about that fight? There was a rumble the other night. Somebody had their head split open. It was a major geek nerd topic of conversation. What was going on in that world that we were trying to avoid? Anyway, I was there. I lived through it, observing it. And it's like I said, it's about, we need escape. We need to get away. So it's an enjoyable book, and it's not going to push any buttons.
Perfect.
Politically.
Awesome. You still got the radio show, 27 years. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. Are you doing any recordings soon? Actually, I'm going to bring another thing into this. We talked last time about Alyssa. You did that Dead Hearts with Alyssa from Arch Enemy.
Yeah.
And then you sung with another beautiful, great singer recently. I think it was recently in Germany, Gabriela Gunstakova, Gabby Gunn. What do you have to say about her? Isn't she talented?
Well, it was in April, something called Rock Meets Classic.
Yeah.
And I keep telling people I'm not performing anymore. And then they go, well, you just did a tour in Germany. I'm like, well, that was booked in 2019. And then COVID hit. So 2020 was canceled. 2021 was canceled. 2022, it actually got pushed back to 2023 till Germany was ready to have arena rock shows again. And it was me, Mike Tramp, Joey Tempest from Europe, a lot of great people. And Gabby was one of the great, the backup singers. The only difference between the backup musicians and the rock stars is that we got the break. There's so much talent out there. And, I pinch myself every day and say, I didn't want it anymore. I wanted it so badly, but so does every other aspiring musician in the world. They all are dreaming the dream, fighting the fight, hoping against hope they'll make it. And only a handful of us get through, a relative handful, and the others are relegated to being, session musicians, backup musicians, or also rans. And so, I was on stage with Gabby and a whole bunch of other talented people kicking ass. And when I passed the mic, we were doing Highway to Hell, and one night I was having a problem with my voice. I just handed the mic to Gabby, and Gabby just belted it out, the high parts, and took the mic back. Thank you, and I kept singing. So she's amazing, very talented.
Awesome, and she's very young, so she can still get up and make it big. There's
plenty of stories like that. There's a Netflix thing called 50 Feet from Fame or something like that about backup singers, side people. But many have gone on to, like Sheryl Crow, to have huge careers. They start out in that position, but they still have their chance, and it's all their time. So Gabby's got plenty of running room,
and even session guitars. So exactly. So before I let you go, I know you have a few other interviews. I don't want to forget. So everybody, I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. So make sure you you subscribe. And anybody that subscribes from today on, and send me an email at ernestSkinner@bordercityrock.ca. I will raffle off one of these bugs and send it to you. As well, what is the opposite of unsubscribe, D?
Unsubscribe. Dick. Don't be a dick.
No.
Don't press the unsubscribe button. You don't want them to unsubscribe, right?
No, what's the opposite of unsubscribe?
Subscribe. Oh, opposite. Subscribe, of course.
Do as D. Snider says and subscribe to this channel for these great interviews. Once again, D, it was a pleasure. And I hope to chat with you very soon.
Great conversation, man. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I want you to know about. But you asked me about singing with other people. That's the only thing I'm doing from time to time. Like I just recorded a song for a movie soundtrack. I'll do something like that. I met this great blues guitar player, just blew me away. A guy named Walter Trout. This guy is just an aggressive blues player, the way Jimmy Page was. And I've actually now, whenever I like a musician, I just get their phone number and I call them up. Hey, it's D. Snider, man. Love what you're doing. D.E. Snyder? Yeah, I love what you're doing. So I call up Walter and I said, you remind me of Jimmy Page. He goes, one of the greatest moments of my life, I was performing in England. I get a tap on the shoulder and it turned around, it's Jimmy Page. He said, I love the way you play the blues. And his wife said, review said, too many notes, too loud, too many notes. And that's the kind of blues I like. Anyway, I'm doing a song with Walter. So
Wow.
you'll see me popping up as a guest on this record or with Lizzie Hale on that record or a movie soundtrack. But as far as actually doing new recording Dee Snider music, that don't hold your breath on that.
Right on. Oh, another quick thing. I always say this. Actually, it's kind of a unique day today. I'm interviewing a Canadian guitar player. I don't know if you are aware of him, Sean Kelly.
Of course. Hold on a second.
Do you have his book?
Yes, I have Sean's
Don't call
book.
it hair metal. I'm just
Sean is a friend. I read it cover to cover. It's a great book examination of that era. And look at all the, because I know, again, I get to, if I like an artist, I get to find their phone number and call them. So I've got all these earmarked pages in here. Me and Sean are going to have a Zoom call, not for broadcast, just to discuss a lot of things. Because I am Mr. Metal. I mean, I know that era inside and out. And he is incredibly accurate, incredibly informed. I'm actually blown away by how knowledgeable he is, because a lot of people from later generations who get into it, they the romance of it, they know the romance, they know the glossy part, but they don't know the dirt. And by dirt, I don't mean like, this guy did bone this girl kind of dirt. I mean like, get into it. It's so interesting. I burned through this book. Authoritative. Sean Kelly is a great writer, and he was in my Rock and Roll Christmas Tale in Toronto when I staged it. He played one of the characters in it, and he quotes me in here. He dedicates it to me and his mom and dad. I was stunned that, I mean, I know Sean, but I didn't know he didn't gush that much to explain how important I was to him in his early formative years. And so I'm not just promoting it because he dedicated it to me. It's a great book. Great book. Enjoy that conversation.
And I'm interviewing him in about an hour. The funny thing is, geez, not funny. Oh, I got John Crosby coming on as well, guys. As well,
another
as
friend.
Kelly. Sorry,
another friend. Great. We did a thing called what was it? Something Circus. We're in Vegas. We did a show for a while together. Yeah.
He's back with the Dead Daisies. That's what we're going to talk about.
Oh yeah, good for him. Yeah, great guy, great singer.
Last thing. Do you think AI wrote Sean's book?
Not a chance.
I was blown away, and I'm going to talk to him about it, how gifted he is with literature. I thought he must have graduated also as an English major. It was so polished.
I've read multiple things over the years that he's written, and he's I texted him and I said, looking forward to reading your book. You're a really good writer. And then I started reading it and I put it down and I retexted. I said, change that. You're a great writer. I forgot how eloquent he is and how intelligent he is. Again, a great guitar player too. A talented Canadian guitar player, period. But I can't wait to talk to him about the book because I just finished it the other day. Right
on. Hey, thanks for taking some time with me for your Canadian fans and American viewers. Checking this out. And everybody go to dsnider.com and get a copy of FRATS.
Please. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate the coverage.